Welcome, dear friends. Welcome to the first event of At Home with Lakshmi, the Illumined Mind. Today we're going to explore illumination, the illumined mind. Practices can help us to get into these deeper states of Satori, of illumination, why it is important, and how it can be a facet of inner growth that is constantly evolving. First of all, why did I choose this title? I chose this title because of this person, Ananda Devi, and this is the name of her book, The Illumined Mind of Ananda Devi. So I wanted to recognize the beginning of our immediate lineage, which began with Ananda Devi, a French philosopher, a great woman for the future, living way beyond her times. And she had extraordinary experiences of illumination, brought great teachings to the West, and was this bridge between Eastern philosophy and Western mentalities. When we think of illumination, what do we imagine? Do we imagine a solitary sadhu, monk, holy person on the mountain, absorbed in high states? Yes. Have we, some of us here, had experiences of Satori? Have we had moments of tasting awe, wonder, feeling the river of sacred force coming through us? Yes. I say that nearly all of us has had these special moments. But how do we train ourselves to achieve these pinnacle experiences? And is that the whole spectrum of the illumined mind? Let's look. Let's reflect together. The path in itself is extraordinary, but it is a path where we are awakening and sometimes we are sleeping. Sometimes we're really inspired and we feel we're in the right direction. We see the synchronicities and it's wonderful. And in other moments, nothing is working. I don't feel my wisdom. I don't feel well in myself. And I'm very far away from a harmonious state with others. All I can say is that all these colors are normal and natural colors in a spectrum that is the spiritual path. We should try to understand that illumination is a very special accumulation of forces and practices that will come in our lives and go. And that's okay. We should understand that there will be moments of great wisdom and there will be moments of not knowing. And that's absolutely all right. Be and cultivate kindness with ourselves when it comes to seeing that this really is a path. It's not a case of having a culmination in an experience and expecting that state to stay with us forever. In fact, for me, there are two sides to this process of illumination. We have the inner spiritual states with what we can call the eternal inner consciousness. And then we have our human personality. Of course, they are connected. We don't look to have a dual spirituality. Of course, ultimately, they are unified, and we're going to look at that in a minute. However, we must recognize that there is a force. We can call it Ananda, we can call it eros. This force of bliss and love that is a flowing force that is in constant evolution. And this is a very, very important idea, understanding that Lakshmi's vision is only just one map and to be coherent spiritual beings or coherent spiritual seekers or people who are on the path, we have to understand that everything that we see and know is part of the most extraordinary existence, an extraordinary panorama of truths. So for me, what I understand is that in this constant evolution, there is an influence from the inner consciousness, and also there is a development of our human personality and psychology. From the very beginning on the path, when I was there in the cabin in the Himalayas, and I had the blessing of being in the presence of my teacher, our teacher, many of us here, Premananda Deva, Deva as we called him. I remember from the very beginning, there was a thrusting, there was a movement of two developments in the self. One was to achieve the spiritual experience, and the other to purify the conscious and the unconscious nature. What they're calling now, and I really love this, the me I cannot see, which also we call the shadow. It's the unconscious nature. Also, parts of the invisible nature can include the superconscious nature. That's what Jung denominated the golden shadow. Okay? So, having this in mind, we're going to explore today two movements that have to do with this side, the inner spiritual practice. This has to do with cooling the nature and warming the nature. So, for example, when many of us think of meditation, what is meditation? I'm trying to create my practice. The way that I relate to myself and my practice is when I feel how I'm doing is because we anticipate that we're going to arrive at the super serene state always. Frankly, that's not my experience. And I suppose for most of us, it's a kaleidoscope of experiences, right? So sometimes we manage to go very deeply and we calm down the mind and we slow down the being. And other times our mind is full, and we have to learn also something that is really, really important, which is self-acceptance and also gratitude. So let's think about this. Cooling practices that have to do with my inner spiritual nature, where I'm invoking calm, I'm becoming still, I go deeper into peace, and I create processes of acceptance and gratitude. So this is the power of being, something that our societies don't really value that much. They value the doing a lot, right? And we also denominate ourselves as valuable when we're doing. And some of us perhaps feel guilty when we're just being, oh, he or she is making time just to be. But being is supremely important. The neuroscientists have found out, and this is fascinating, that when we're not in the active mind, but we're more in what we could classify as the being mind, is a whole network called the salience network, where actually most of our creative and spiritual ideas are born. Most of our reflections, we're in the shower, we're singing, and all of a sudden an idea comes to me when I'm resting. No? So let's think about this, the being. Especially in times when we're living in constant activity, we should try to seek these times of being. So this is the cooling side of the practice. The cooling side of the practice. So in a minute, we're going to actually make a meditation when we're going to adapt all these phases. So that's clear, right? The cooling side. This is what we associate with meditation, no? It's peaceful, it's serene, it's quiet, and it's very valid because that is a great part of the meditative act. Now, Lakshmi's talking about something like warming. Now, what does she mean, warming? Okay, so in Sanskrit, we have the word tapas, T-A-P-A-S, tapas. And this actually has many definitions in most Sanskrit words, but means warming or shining, okay? So this is where we're meditating, but we're not just looking to calm ourselves. We're going to use it as a space to create. We're going to use it as a space where I can help with my psychological processes, where I can create healing processes, where I can work on and reflect on things in my life that are kind of enigmatic to me, maybe challenges in my life, for things that are really difficult for me. Maybe I can help myself to see it differently. Maybe I can help myself to create a new way of being in relationship to what is happening in my life. Maybe with a person that is difficult for me in the present or the past, I can find a way to create in my consciousness. And this is what I mean by the warming practices, okay? So tapas, how are we going to activate the tapas? There are so many ways. And in reality, Lakshmi is just here to talk about a little slice, a little fragment of what is the inner practice. So we can create the warmth with breath, with visualization, and we're going to do it with mantra today. And today I want to share with you a mantra that I really like. It's a Tibetan mantra. Actually, mainly all of the Tibetan mantras are based on Sanskrit mantras. As we know, a great deal of the heritage of Tibetan philosophy came from India and Sanskrit, the great mother language of the Orient. And it has 3 syllables. The first one you all know, it's Om. The second one is Ah, A-H, Ah. And the third one is Hum. Okay? Om, Ah, Hum. And the beautiful thing about this mantra is that when we're going to sing it, we're going to concentrate on the crown when we sing Om. We're going to concentrate on the throat when we say Ah. This is the opening, the expression, the voice, the word. And we're going to concentrate on the heart when we say Hum. Okay? So it's Om, Ah, Hum. Om, Ah, Hum. Good. So we're going to practice that together in a moment. So when we warm the being with mantra, with visualization, with breath, what happens? We start to feel forces. What forces do we want to connect with? We want to connect with the force of the heart. We want to connect with the force of love. Right? Because when we feel good in ourselves, even if the world is a disaster, even if my life has so many obstacles, and for now I know it's a process, but hey, I need more patience than I can actually deal with. If we feel good, then we can live life with a smile, with laughter. We can play, we can laugh at ourselves. So feeling good, believe me, is not just, with a magic wand and ding, I feel good. No, we know it's a super investigation. It's a super reflection. It's a case of going to the pain, letting the pain out, and all kinds of delicate processes that we're not going to explore today. In the future, we can. So, but at the same time, what if I find a way to generate and feel love that's really, really good for me? It means that I can take this small fire and feel good. And even if that person, X person, is in a difficult position with me, I'm going to be okay. All right. So this is all about generating the heat for ourselves, for our well-being. That's really important. Another thing that I wanted to talk about today is like a catchphrase that's really going around in a lot of the spiritual circles, and I really love it. Personal agency. Agency. What does this mean? It means I'm going to create fire to feel my power, to feel my strength. Now, why is this important? Many times when we go into the path, and believe me, for me, absolutely the way is surrender. And absolutely the way is recognizing I'm a little drop in this ocean that is universes big, galaxies big. And that is absolutely the way. But if and when in my surrender, I lose my power, that is absolutely not the way. It's taken me a long time to realize this. So that's funny, no? It takes us time to realize things. So, of course, we are composite beings. We have sub-personalities. We have different facets of ourselves. And it's very important, as the psychologists know, not to identify with a sub-personality or one facet of our personality, because in the center of ourselves, we are whole, we are sacred, we are infinite, we are powerful. So it's important that we bring in this sense of agency. Why is this important? Because we remember to believe in ourselves, to trust ourselves, to have faith in ourselves. And that is extremely important. This is when we create this relationship with ourselves. It means that we can really hold ourselves by the hand and come into an understanding that we're going to be okay, despite all of the difficulties. Okay? So agency. That's really, really important. So we want to warm ourselves to find agency, to feel love. Now let's look at how this can be integrated in life. And this is where I wanted to talk about the balance, the all-important balance between how much I dedicate to my inner practice and how much I dedicate myself in outer life. Obviously, all of us know that life demands so much from us that even if we would like to have a little bit more time for the practice, sometimes we don't make time or we don't make a priority to do that. And so how can we address this situation? How can we bring this knowledge into life itself? How can I bring calm into my life more? And I want us to think about this together. And in a moment where I want us to express together, where can I bring more calm into my life to help me in the things that are going on for me right now? It could be, for example, when I don't feel well, when I feel sad, when I feel anxious, frustrated, angry even, maybe I just need to be calm and try to develop the observer in that situation and say, it's going to be all right. In time, it will work itself out. Okay? There's a beautiful master called Brother David Steindl-Rast, and he's a monk, and he talks about the importance of like looking in the rearview mirror, like looking behind in our lives, and how even in the most difficult situations, mostly we've come out all right. We're very, very blessed. Most of us, we're not living in a country that's at war or, with great sufferings. And these people, I absolutely feel for these people, and I think it's terrible. So in many ways, we are blessed. So reminding ourselves that we will work through this, knowing that we have accumulated these pearls of wisdom throughout our life is very, very important. So what we're going to do now is we're going to reflect together about these ideas, about cooling the being, warming the being, and integrating it into life. Okay? And in the meditation that we're going to be doing together in a short time, we're going to ask our voice of wisdom. This is the voice of each one of us, the soul in each one of us, to speak to us about calm, to speak to us about the fire, the warming, and to speak to us about our agency also.